to the class here at Ascent in Tzfat, Israel. So today's subject is Zechus Avos, which is the merit of our ancestors. So there's a couple of subjects on that subject. The first is that um, the impact of our history on our destiny. And of course, primarily as Jewish people, it's very, very, very significant because we're all the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and therefore we have, as it says in the Tanya, we have their soul in our soul. So we know it's very interesting that, in fact, the DNA, there's DNA kind of replicates, which is obvious, but there are inherited traits. Like, I don't know, they did these studies, like people that were, let's say, in a hunger in I don't know, in Ireland, even 100, 200 years later, they had certain like anxieties or something around that. So the soul of our ancestors, or what made our ancestors' soul so amazing, um, is that they had this tremendous, like it says, the life of a tzaddik is amunas Hashem, avos Hashem, yiras Hashem, is faith, love, and awe of Hashem. So they transcended the basic reality of this world, and they lived in a reality of what truly mattered. And so the Jewish people, I mean, Yamach Shemai Hitler, he burned for eternity and bad stuff, but he kind of was from the few anti-Semites that really understood what he was doing. He said, we are a nation of barbarians and savages, and, as long as there will be a Jew around, there will be a conscience. In other words, the Jewish people have a conscience, whether they're religious, whether they're not religious, they're holy people. And in fact, many Jews may not see this in themselves because they take for granted the holiness, take for granted the goodness, but other people do see it in the Jewish people. They recognize us as being a holy, if you want to call it tribe, a holy nation. And so the story is that we have Zechus Avos, we have the merit of our ancestors. Now, that doesn't only go to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Every Jew obviously has a certain lineage. I mean, a convert, let's say, is associated to the souls of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But your ancestors impact you. Now, that impacts you, first of all, and assimilate to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that you have their DNA, you have their value system, which is a very real thing. It also impacts you in a positive way because, let's say, you have, I think that my grandfather at the wedding of my cousin, so his mom and my dad are brother and sister, but his father came from different, obviously comes from different line. So, and they were Hasidim of, I forgot who it was, but he said that in Poland, everyone knew that if you wanted God to help you, you did a favor, because they had come from a Rebbe, to any descendant of this Rebbe. So, even with trees, I've mentioned this before, but there's something called the mother tree. So now we know with mycelium, the trees are going to talk to each other. And this lady who discovered a lot of this hypothesized that there would be something called a mother tree. And the mother tree actually is kind of the most ancient tree there. And she figured that she might reduce some of her roots. Obviously, trees have big roots. They're double the size in the ground as they are over the ground. She'll reduce some of her roots for her children. And that's exactly what actually happened. So there's this kind of caring for your progeny. And so these holy souls obviously have tremendous abilities. In fact, it says that a person shouldn't use up all of their merits on themselves because they're going to want to use it for their children. So the person gets to heaven, there's only a certain amount of merits. There's basically your I want to call it your bank account is the good that you did, and you can cash those chips in, but only kind of quite sparingly because you only have the amount that you did. So heaven gives us this opportunity to cash chips in for our lineage, and obviously the bigger the tzaddik, the more chips they have to cash in. So there's a very real thing about lineage. Of course, every single Jew is going to do tshuva, le'yidach mimenu nidach. Furthermore, it speaks about in Tanya that it says that sometimes actually people that come from wicked parents may be very great souls. Very interesting story. There's a book, Excuse Me, Are You Jewish? It's about Chabad, and this Chabad rabbi, he's kind of going He's in California somewhere, and he's like very thirsty. He has to get a drink, and he like pulls off to the side of the road, and he goes to the gas station. There's this lady. She's like got a bottle in the hand. She's a little bit. She's like, Rabbi, I need you to take care of my son. Whatever, I gave him up, but and he's like, well, maybe I can help you. She says, no, I'm too far gone. But just like, look, and it turns out that in his community there's a guy and a lady. She wasn't actually not Jewish, but they adopted a child, and they brought this child, and this child became part of his Chabad house. So you see clearly that this soul was like a high soul, went through difficult circumstances. There's a story here in Israel with a lady that she, unfortunately, her mother had this bad tendency of marrying Arabs, and we know that Arabs basically are savages, and at least when it comes to relationships. And so she had a very bad history. So her father was actually like a sheik or something, and she converted to Islam, and her father married her to her cousin, which was kind of quite good. But of course, that was also an abusive relationship, terrible relationship. She finally managed to escape, and she, went to become a full-fledged Jew. Not only that, helping out Lev Lachim, helping Jewish women that are trapped. I hope to get all the Jewish women trapped in Gaza everywhere out. So there's tremendous journeys of the souls, particularly in this generation where Hashem wanted us to be Baalei Tshuva. So there are great journeys of the souls, and all of our souls have been here many times. And so, um, I don't know. I mean, just on the subject, I would say that we have a lot of merit. We're the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We're all going to see Mashiach. We've been here many times in many bodies, many reincarnations. So we don't only have the merit of our ancestors, we have our own merits. We have our own journeys. And each and every one of us is super special, super precious. The fact that we've been chosen. The Rebbe actually says, Dar Hilach, Dar Ba, generation comes, generation goes. So this actually is the same generation. He says, not different generations, same generation. So we are just reincarnated, as our Rizal says. We have to go through all 613 mitzvahs, and by now as Rebbe says, we've polished the buttons. We're ready. We're just ready to greet Mashiach. L'chaim v'levracha. Any questions?
That's it. Oh.
That's it. I mean, that's all I could come up with on the subject.
Okay.
Got to pull from the little head on what I have. So.